We're live. Welcome to Protea Live. My name is Zane Stevens. I'm the founder of Protea Financial. I'm going to keep running on the cash flow train this week, and I want to talk about one of the things that is my biggest pet peeve. And I'm going to sort of run into a story into it first and sort of think about my process here, right? Cash flow for many businesses is tight. Small businesses, always have issues. Now, we focus specifically on the wine industry, and those cash flows can even be crazier, right? We have a situation where there's a lot of times, there's periods in the year where there's a lot of outflow, paying for grapes, paying for harvest, paying for bottling. And their inflows of funds can be pretty choppy as well. You have your wine club releases, and you see the big spikes in cash. Um, a lot of small companies also sell to bigger companies, which they need to sell on terms, right? Which means you have a situation where there can be a fairly long process from when they get the inventory to when they sell the inventory to when they actually collect the money, assuming people stick to the terms. And, we spoke a little bit about last week. Make it as easy as possible for people to pay you. Make it simple. Now, because of all these time delays, there's a lot of times pressure on cash flow. When there's pressure on cash flow, it can be sometimes hard to pay your bills. Um, I always recommend people prioritize your people, pay your salaries, then prioritize any taxes, and that could be, income taxes. It could also be sales taxes, and making sure that the right people are getting that money. But you're going to eventually have to pay your vendors, and understanding how to pay those vendors is really important. Now, one of the things that I don't understand is, as business owners, we're willing to spend a lot of time filling out forms to get terms. And we'll get an invoice and it'll say pay net 30. Wonderful. Now, what I don't understand is we've done all that work. We've spent the time filling out the form, negotiating, getting those great terms to help our cash flow. I mean, that's the reason why we have terms, right? So we can pay something in the future. Hopefully you're in a case where I'm paying for something where I've already started to generate income from it. So it's paying for itself. So why do we not make use of those terms? Why do we run into situations where people will send an invoice and be like, we should pay this as soon as possible? I don't understand that. You telling me to pay it as soon as possible. We've just done all the work to pay it in the future. Now I get it. Sometimes, people want to pay it in advance for some other reason. Like, let's pay them early now. So in the future, if we have to pay them late, it's a little easier to say, hey, I know we've paid well in the past, but I need a little bit of help right now. I'm just waiting for some funds to come in. Sort of get that, right? There's a good reason. But other times, it's just making the payment because, well, we're going to make the payment. I want to get it paid as soon as possible. I don't want to make sure we don't lose out on it. And you're like, well, that doesn't make any sense because you've already got the product or the service. Now it's just fulfilling your role of paying on time. And on time doesn't mean immediately. On time means in terms of those terms. And that is important. Now, I see this from business owners. I see this a lot from salespeople. Let's get them paid as soon as possible. Well, no, we don't need to do that. It can even be in a weird state like this where sometimes we're using a consultant, right? And the consultant maybe doesn't understand what terms are, and they'll just they downloaded an invoice somewhere, or their QuickBooks file just told them put it in at 30. So they send you an invoice, and they've given you the right to pay in the future, but for some reason you feel obligated to pay quickly. There's some good, wholesome reasons to do that. There could be some good business decisions, but sometimes I just think people aren't really thinking about what that means, or don't actually understand what terms mean. In simple case, terms mean an agreement to receive product or service now and pay for them in the future. You have agreed by issuing that invoice with those terms that you are accepting that somebody will pay you in the future. Using your AP terms is a really important way to manage your cash flow. It's a very important way to make sure that you've got enough funds in to be able to cover your obligations. You get stuck in a business where you're selling on terms, but you're paying everything on due date as it comes in. And you can get that pressure as a new business, especially if you don't have any credit history, you're brand new, those types of things. But if you have gone through the effort and the time to establish terms with a vendor, you have to use them. And I say that as this like bold and underlined statement, like it's the law. It isn't, but it should be. It should be the rule that you set for yourself. I've been given these terms, let's use them, and let's use them as a cash flow management tool. And this is where a good accountant comes in, because a good accountant who's going to be helping you with your cash flow is also going to be able to look out and say, hey, these are the payments based on the terms that have been provided that we need to make in the next 4 weeks or the next 3 weeks or 6 weeks, or whatever it is. Let's use those terms to be able to stagger our payments and make sure that we're issuing payments in time so that those people are getting paid within the obligation that they've created for us, net 30, net 50, net 45, whatever it is. If you want to improve your cash flow, you have to make use of these tools that have been provided to you. Paying everything as the bill comes in might be a good peace of mind because I won't forget about it. But if you have a good accounting team in place that's helping you manage your payments and help you manage your cash flow, terms on a vendor payment is your number one tool to manage when money goes out. If you're spending the time to establish the terms with a vendor, you should 100% be using them. It is the best way that you can manage your cash flow. It's the best way for you to plan for cash flow. And it's the best way for you to better manage your business because you're following the rules that you've spent time to establish. Remember, as you are selling, you would really hope that people would pay you in advance. Sure. But you're just expecting it to come in before those terms. You would only be upset if somebody paid you 45 days when they agreed to 30 days. That's where the problem comes. You're not going to be upset if somebody pays you on 30 days or 29 to 28 days. So if it doesn't upset you as a person selling to somebody else, why would you think that that vendor would be upset as well? You've spent the time, you've spent the money, you've established this agreement, make use of it. Trying to pay people to keep them happy is not a good business strategy, and it's not good for cash flow. Use those terms. You spent the time establishing them. You put the work in. You've got somebody else to help them. Use them. Use them to understand your cash flows, manage your cash flows, make sure people are paid on time, but also make sure that you have enough cash to make those payments on time. If you're going to spend the time on AP and establishing terms with vendors, use it. And as a side note, if you're selling hours or product and you're putting terms on your contracts or on your invoices, please understand what that means. It doesn't mean that you're going to be paid immediately. If you told them net 30, you've just given them a right to pay in 30 days. Please respect those. People are using that to manage their business. I understand we all have cash flow issues, but if you've agreed to it, you've agreed to it, and that's what you have to stick with. Use those terms to manage your business. Understand those terms. Use it to plan cash flows as well as your inflows of money. Cash flow is important to your business. Without cash, you will not survive. Use your terms provided wisely. Bit of a gloomy Wednesday today, right in the thick of month end, lots of stuff going on. I have a lot of thought process about cash flow, and I'm trying to figure out ways to better communicate that with all of you. We have touched on 2 things in the last 2 weeks, like make people pay you easier, and number 2, use the terms. Make them a tool in your business to manage the cash flow. If there's anything else that you guys want to talk about, hear about in terms of cash flow, drop me a comment in here. Reach out to me on LinkedIn. We can make a plan. But cash flows are really critical, And we have to be making sure that as a business owner, as accountants, we understand the process involved in cash flow management. And I'm more than happy to spend time speaking about that. I think it's really critical. I know, out there, it is a tough time. I mean, we aren't in a recession, but people are feeling the pinch. Things are more expensive. People are pushing the boundaries where they can. Banks are getting a little tighter. I don't know if you guys know, a couple of banks have failed in the last couple of months. So that's sort of put in, everybody a little bit scared. Interest rates are rising. It's tough out there. So cash flow, especially through the summer months when things can get a little bit quieter, it's going to be important. And we need to sort of figure out how we are managing our cash to be successful. A cash happy business is going to make a cash happy owner. It's going to make your life a little bit easier, and it's going to give you the flexibility to be able to make moves to improve your business, stabilize your business. So a lot of focus on cash flow at the moment. Really, really important. And hopefully these conversations can be really helpful to help you learn on how to better manage your cash flow in your business. But remember, get some help. I mean, I'm just one random person here on the internet trying to tell people good ways to manage their cash flow. But reach out to a professional. Get a bookkeeper, get a CFO. Trusted advisor, a CPA, somebody that can talk to you and help you manage cash flows. It's a tough part of it. Your part of your job as your business is to sell products, sell services, do the services, run the business. Get some help on these critical things like cash flow management. It'll make a very big difference. It'll take a lot of stress and burden off your life as well. Yeah, it's going to cost you a little bit, but peace of mind is worth it. Cash flow is a tricky place. So get the help. You deserve it. That's it for this week. Hopefully talk to you all next week. Have a wonderful month end.